about movement, we are talking about how artists use elements to direct the eye around a composition. The elements we're mostly going to review in this process are shapes, lines, colors, and forms. But it's not just about moving around a work of art. It's also seeing motion or suggested motion. And frankly, many artists today also create artwork that physically moves. The first piece we're going to look at is Sunlight on the Coast by Winslow Homer. This painting is great for discussing an implied movement. Homer is undoubtedly getting us to feel the waves, to feel this rough Maine seascape, and he's doing this primarily through the use of lines and color. Here we see these sharply painted diagonal lines. We see them in waves and also in these rocks. Notice the way they are jutting out of the water. We also see curved diagonals, and this is all contrasted against steep vertical pitches, until finally we get over to the far left corner where it is a kaleidoscope of diagonals, verticals, horizontals, all adding up to create this turbulent feel. But it isn't just the lines of the waves that are helping create the sense of movement in the painting. We also have the stark contrast between the foreground, here which contains an intense white to mimic the frothiness of the ocean waves, in comparison to the stark black background. Look how the horizon line is blurred between the ocean and the sky. So Homer has created this dark background, and he's used it to contrast against the intense, bright foreground, emphasizing the chaotic movement of the waves. All right, next we'll talk about the physical movement in art today. Here we have a kinetic sculpture by George Rickey, Triple N Gyratory 3. Rickey dedicated his career to investigating the poetic possibilities of movement. In his words, he's using control of weight and balance, and also time, which he sees as comparable to how a painter would use color and form, or how a musician would use sound to express themselves. Again, you can see the way these ends are pivoting on each other, the way that the wind is rotating them around the space. So Rickey has moved beyond the illusion of movement to include active motion as a new element of his work. And lastly, let's take a look at this painting, The Feast of King Herod, a 17th century oil painting by Matteo Preti. There isn't the illusion of movement like in the Homer painting, or actual movement like in Rickey's sculpture, but rather this painting demonstrates the way a skillful artist can move our eye around a composition. The focal point of this painting is King Herod's stepdaughter, Salome, as she's serving up a platter of John the Baptist's head. According to the story, taken from the New Testament, Salome has requested the saint's head as a reward for dancing for the king. To emphasize her role in the story, the artist is highlighting Salome. She stands out because of her porcelain-like white skin. We can see the way the eyes of all the other figures are angled toward her, including her mother's eyes. Herod himself is gazing straight at Salome, and we can see the way their eyes seem to meet. There are other elements that help direct our eye around the painting. Notice the way this steep pitch directs us down. We have these stacked steps, and we have the urns on the steps, and they're all leading us down to this point. So the painting is pushing us to the lower left-hand portion. But you can see the artist doesn't trap us in the corner. He helps us move around the painting. Look at the drapes and the way they pitch themselves back up from where Herod is, creating the suggestion of a triangle. And this triangle helps us move through the painting. So it's not just about looking at Salome and the head of John the Baptist, but it's also about how our eye is moving around the painting. As we have just seen by looking at three very different works of art, movement is the principle of design that embodies action in art, whether that action is implied, real, directive, or kinetic.